Been a while. It's nice to see you.
Likewise, likewise. Well, I saw you Propelify. Well, briefly. We didn't have a chance to chat. I came at the end tail of that. I saw the talk with you and your wife,
Oh, nice.
which was awesome. Which was awesome. How you been,
Nice.
man? Long time no talk. What value proposition are you bringing to the NJ Tech Council today in 2024?
What we look to do is how do we differentiate and complement from other markets? How do we bring together the community that's in our backyard, particularly in New Jersey, where we get lost in the shadow of New York? And so the value prop is meet the people who are literally in your own backyard, connect with the investors who you may not realize are here, and also we can help accelerate relationships with large corporations who are all set up in New Jersey, where we have a lot of really strong relationships. And so our goal, our mission is to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and instigators to build a better future. We do that by driving a lot of connectivity in the community. And advocacy, mentorship, large events, big and small, but the big picture is that.
Can you talk me through at a top level some of the things you guys are doing this year to sort of foster what you just described?
Yeah. So, we run Propelify, as you know well.
Of course.
Um, we
I
have
was
an
there for the
annual
first one. I
awards
think
event
that
called,
was
what's that?
I was there for the first. Propelify now is into its is it seventh year,
We just did the ninth one,
ninth year. Oh my God,
which
I
is
got to catch up.
crazy,
That's amazing.
really, really crazy. Yeah, Propelify, as you know, several thousand entrepreneurs and innovators in the waterfront in Hoboken for all things entrepreneurship and technology. We have an annual awards event we call Catalyst Awards that recognizes leaders in tech. We have a mentorship program that helps women and diverse founders build their businesses. We have an advocacy program that helps to drive policy changes in New Jersey that we think will attract and keep more entrepreneurs and innovation. We have a few committees and groups built just to organize around, for instance, women in tech, investors, entrepreneurs, and a few others like that. And so it's a small but mighty group that is focused on how we give entrepreneurs a leg up in this market.
We can dive tactically, I guess, in a little more detail. What are some of the issues that you foresee or top priorities you foresee in this year into the next couple of years to achieve that mission or to achieve those objectives?
Well, the policy one is big. We're looking to increase the angel tax credit from what is currently 20% in New Jersey to increase it to 35%. 20% is yeah, New Jersey's in the bottom third across the country.
Mhm.
At 20%, this is basically a tax incentive for driving early stage investors into startups. We'd like to see that bumped. Looks like we're going to land around 35%, which would be a big improvement. We
Amazing.
also would like to see New Jersey recognize the qualified small business stock exemption that the federal government does when you meet a certain number of requirements, basically all centered around economic development and how do you create jobs in the process of building your business. And if you do that, then there's a tax incentive when you sell your company. New Jersey doesn't recognize that on the state level. 45 other states do. So, we're working at doing something, making sure New Jersey
For
is
small
competitive to
business.
do those sorts of things. That's right.
For a beginner, for small business stock exemption, what sort of scenario would that come into effect?
Say that again.
For the small business stock exemption,
Yeah.
can you give me an example of what a scenario would look like?
Yeah,
Uh,
if you raise under $10 million, you hire us at different thresholds where hire a certain number of people and sell the business for it doesn't matter how much you sell the business for. The exemption is on the first $10 million of gains are tax free. That's a very, very big deal. That's a big tax burden. And so
Absolutely.
the folks with equity, you don't have to pay that capital gains on the federal level. You don't have to pay it on the state level, and you do in New Jersey right now. And so that's a big problem. So we would like, which are driving entrepreneurs out of the state. We know folks who went through this process, got a tax bill, realized other states didn't have this, and if you moved to Florida, some moved to New York. New York doesn't have this issue. So
Mhm. That's amazing. And what sort of timeline? What stage is that at currently? I know nothing
you know,
about politics, nothing about government, so total layman
government
here.
doesn't move at the same pace as startups, and so we have been working on this for a while. The angel tax credit bill is more than a year of negotiation. QSBS has been both have been introduced, and we think have a good chance of becoming law. But QSBS has been introduced this year. I'm hopeful that by the end of this year, both of these will be laws. I think it's It's like a 50-50 chance at the time, but it would be a big deal for us if we.
Any other things that you're thinking about this year? This year, over the next couple years, as we get
Um,
this New Jersey.
Building the team, we launched a venture studio, and so we looked at how do we create more businesses in New Jersey, leveraging our connection to so many great markets and leaders and big enterprise companies, as well as the entrepreneurial community. And so we raised some money to basically build new companies in partnership with those stakeholders, where we come up with early stage ideas, quickly vet them with our partners. If they seem like they have legs, then we pursue them and put up to $500,000 behind each one. If they don't, we quickly cut ties and move on to the next one. And so this idea of sort of dispassionate entrepreneurship, we think is a much more effective way of vetting and validating ideas quickly. And then we build all these companies in New Jersey. We're working with all the major colleges, universities in the state. We brought on an incredible technical co-founder who really does bring a very legitimate AI expertise to the table. And so we focus now on all things using leverage AI, in particular in his case, a multi-agent framework to solve really complex problems. So that's actually been a super exciting part of the evolution of Tech United that for me has been really, very invigorating.
It's awesome.
That's called
On
Better Future Labs.
how do you see startups using AI today in the startup world?
We see AI as a tool that gives people leverage. And right now, there's a lot of investment about the foundational layers of the models themselves and the tool sets being built around them. But at the end of the day, like in the same way that I've been able to create leverage using third-party hiring sites like Upwork, which used, it was Elance before that, and Fiverr and others. AI gives you a similar edge, but instead of hiring a person, you can use a tool to create to be productive very, very efficiently. And so I do think right now we're seeing the early products there. So, I wouldn't call it fully automated social media, but the ability to have sort of pre-populated social media posts that are really compelling and images and video that is really interesting. That's all AI created. I think is super compelling. Your ability to put together decks and presentations, I think, again, it gives you like a real leg up. I think soon we'll see it, and there's lots more significantly more complex use cases, but I think we'll see it inside the organizations more, surface insights, starting to take on workload that may normally be going to another colleague. But I think for the next couple of years, we're seeing the startup community really lean into building those tools that will enable small businesses in the future to be much, much more productive. And so to me, we may at some point stop saying AI. We definitely will be using these tool sets to be much more productive and be, able to work. You and I both know this term about working smarter, not necessarily harder. I think AI lets you work significantly smarter, and it will.
With you, yeah, awesome. On the more technical side, or I guess as an investor, is it changing yet? Like teams, instead of being 5 people, 3 people can do the same job.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I know that like call centers is a good one, right? Where there are some really incredible use cases right now where someone can, if I call it, let's say I call Well Woven and you have customer service, there are services you could subscribe to that will actually start to listen to, okay, this sounds like a white guy who's 45. I'm going to guess sort of the demo and instantly respond in a voice I think he's going to find relatable. Which, by the way, culturally, I think is weird. I don't love this idea, but this is what it does. And it can sound like a human. It can take my questions. It knows your business enough to be able to actually answer a lot of somewhat sophisticated questions. And it's replacing the human beings in these call centers. And that has significant implications in lots of ways. Like what happens to those employees? I also think the cultural piece is not great because I don't think me talking to more people who look and sound like me is all that great. And so I think there's an ethical issue we've got to think about. But from a technological point of view, it's very, very efficient. There's no hold times. They work really well, and we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. So I think things like that will start to evolve. We've toyed around with the idea of a fully AI generated podcasting network where we feed in topic ideas, service creates a really interesting podcast with 2 or more guests based on what it knows, in that space. So this sounds silly, but it is changing everything.
Yep. It's interesting. We use CapCut. We've been creating ads for Meta, and it's gotten to a point where I mean, it's not great, but you can upload a link, give it some guidance, and you're able to get a video that's pre-edited. It gives you back 10 videos that are edited. Half of them have like a person talking, and the words are lip sync to the person's to the person that's moving the scene. So it is coming in. I mean, it's coming in small chunks. I think, like as you mentioned, it's the next couple of years we're going to see incremental improvements to small businesses. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in the the investment landscape, but there's a lot of talks around like early like 99.com sort of hype. Is that something that you guys are from an investment level?
I mean,
What's your
from an
perception
investment
of?
level, some of those things require, depending on the tool, some of them require significantly more capital than we have to put to work. And so, we're putting relatively small amounts to work to build new businesses. We tend to invest in our own ideas, not necessarily existing ideas. But things that are extremely capital intensive, like building out a new model, are
Hmm.
not the sorts of things we have the capital to do right now.
Hmm. Right, right. The models are getting sort of building on top of those models, and the models themselves are kind of getting commoditized in a sense. They're free, they're cheaper. Cool, man. Let's talk about early
We're working
days.
on it. I mean, they're not,
Yeah.
they're not, token usage is still, it's pricey to do good quality AI work is still not so cheap, but
Hmm.
the prices are continuing to come down. And, the way that that works is over the time it just becomes really a race to zero or as close to it as possible. And I think we're seeing that happen in the AI world for sure.
That's awesome, man. So at a state level, are you guys looking at call centers or
We're not
labs?
necessarily looking at call centers. We are looking at data centers and how do we attract. There's a big issue in AI, which is the electricity needed to run these models is massive, and the power consumption that we all use to process these things is significant. There is a pending energy crisis as these tools evolve. So we're looking at how does New Jersey become a place where these data centers can exist, and what are the right energy sources that are much more efficient, over the long haul. I mean, the experts talk a lot about nuclear. That makes a lot of sense. That's not been something very popular in this.
Is your organization looking within government to make investments to make the state a more efficient operation, a business?
So, just to be clear, we're not a state entity, but we work closely with the state. The governor put out an AI tax incentive bill to drive large scale companies here with up to $100 million tax credit. So that's aimed specifically at very large companies who have large tax bills. We make recommendations to the state on policy we think will attract the right businesses. We convene folks who are in this industry, including people like the senior leaders at PSEG in the energy world, to make sure that we are being thoughtful and proactive about what does it take to do this correctly. And the answer right now isn't necessarily black and white, but we want to make sure we're being proactive and thinking about it and not just being reactive and respond as this issue pops up. Right now, I wouldn't say there's anything in place, but we are thinking deeply about what could happen so that the energy usage here and the energy sources here are attractive for the technologies of tomorrow.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. All right, let's talk about your early innovations or your sort of entry into entrepreneurship. Bodyweight Plus,
Oh yeah,
Carabiners. There was a delivery network. The name is escaping me.
deliver you, yeah.
Deliver You, which is like the precursor to DoorDash, Uber Eats. Those.
We didn't have drivers. We were more like a seamless where we did online ordering enablement for restaurants. We
Okay.
didn't employ the delivery drivers or haven't ever, which was 1998 and 99. So we were one of the first online fee ordering services ever.
Wow.
It was a
Wow.
fun time.
That's awesome, man. Half the America's on dial-up. I think some people can maybe had DSL by that point. If you're in college, maybe you had T1 or you had like a pretty dope college
Yeah,
connection.
we had T1 at college, which was awesome. People were starting to get DSL. It's not an acronym I've heard in a long time. But we had flip phones and we faxed in the orders and we had pagers that told us if the faxes went through or not. I mean, it was a whole different world.
Yeah, what the hell?
Um,
Like, what was that like? Getting orders. When did you get your first order? Do you remember like the first orders that came in and like how did
I
that
do
come?
remember the feeling. I don't remember the exact. And I remember walking. My co-founder and I were very close friends. We still are. Went to the University of Maryland. We did an ad in the insert in the Diamondback, which is the periodical for students around campus. If we did like a 4x6 insert card, and to me, like the morning, as soon as by like I don't know 7 or 8 a.m. that thing went out, we started getting dozens of orders, and then by the time we graduated, we were processing several
Dozens of
thousand
orders.
orders a month. What's
Several
that?
thousand, dozens of orders at first.
I
Getting to
think we had
several
like
thousand.
300 the first day, and then
Wow.
it
Wow.
was several thousand. I think it was 2,000 a month or so by the time we graduated.
Wow. At that point, those first orders, how were you guys managing them? What was it? What was like? Was it just you and your college buddies, or were you like, we need to get an office, we need to hire? What was that
We
process?
did, we,
Yeah.
we had partnered with a tech company to build the back-end technology.
Cool.
We ran it out of our dorm rooms. We did not know what we were doing. The pricing model was wildly flawed, but that was okay because we figured out enough. We took turns being customer service. So I mean, literally, you place an order. We used a service called eFax to fax it in. It was 10 cents a page, which is pretty expensive. Average order size was $12. We started off taking just 5% of the order, so we got 60 cents an order, and 10 cents went out the door for the fax. And sometimes it was 20 because it was 10 cents a page. And sometimes the order was we couldn't get it on one page. So the margins we had to figure out. It was a really fascinating time. It was a lot of fun. We learned a ton. We did end up selling that business, but it was a very, very exciting time to be launching a business.
It's amazing. Awesome. And post delivery, what's the journey? Fast forward to like New Jersey Tech Meetup. I guess what's prompted you to start NJ Tech Meetup?
So Deliver You and my next business were fun, but they were very, very isolating, kind of lonely experiences. And so I got involved in the New York City tech community. And it was the first time I was like, oh my God, these people get it. They sort of see the world like I do. I got to be around more people like this. And so I lived in Hoboken. Turns out I still do. And so I started the New Jersey Tech Meetup just to bring together other entrepreneurs, and it just exploded, kind of by accident, or certainly unintentionally.
It
And
was
so,
an
as you
amazing
know,
meetup, by the way. It was an
what's
amazing
that?
meetup. 2010 is the first one I went to, and it felt like a hundred people, maybe a couple hundred people. I know the community was thousands, up, maybe 7,000, 8,000. I read
Something like
recently.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got
Um,
100 plus a month, I think about 150 or so. 30 minutes of networking, 3 startups, and a feature speaker. We had as you know, some great speakers came through. One of the first startups to present was Venmo. I mean, when it was two guys figuring out what that was about. I don't know the very first event, if you were there, was at a bar, and then we quickly moved to Stevens Institute of Technology. But I think we were at the bar for 2 or 3 months, and then we moved. Yeah, Venmo, and it was two guys working at figuring it out. Was one of our early companies. We've had some great companies come through it. I've always thought about it'd be interesting to have an index and have invested in all the companies that made it through that.
remember, I mean, speakers from Hotline. I was not Hotline.
Priceline.
Priceline. There we go. He
Yeah,
was
one of the
great.
founders of Priceline spoke. Cory Booker spoke. One of the founders of the Huffington Post and Hot Jobs
Gary
and
Vaynerchuk.
Gary V. And fantastic. Brad Feld came in. We had a lot of fantastic speakers. So that was a pretty fun time.
It was amazing. It was meetup.com. It was free to join if you're in North. I mean, people from all over came, but selfishly, I kind of miss those. Have you thought
Yeah.
about that community-based sort of month? I'm running a monthly operation. Must have been 150
Yeah.
people, 3 startups, guest speakers.
We've talked a lot
Businesses.
about how do we bring that back,
Yeah,
and it is a lot of work to make those happen. But we have talked a lot about who could we find potentially to be ambassadors and run things like that again, because I think they're so beneficial and important to keep going all throughout the state, just to keep going anywhere. But for us, for me personally, it was like no matter what's going on each week, it was a real high. Like there was a real positive, fun, energetic, inspirational evening. And I think I think you're anyone, but especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, you really need that.
100%. Yeah. Energy was great. I met dozens of people that I keep in touch with today, including you. So yeah, that would be great. I'd be a supporter. If you charge like I mean, I think it was donation, right?
We charged $8, which like
$8.
covered the pizza or something. Yeah.
It covered the pizza and soda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, man.
It was a lot
Um,
of
a lot of fun. There are companies that are charging for like exclusive memberships to entrepreneurial communities. They're actually really successful. Seem to be successful. They're relatively new post-pandemic. Are you following any of those? Not to name any names,
Yeah,
but
Hamptons does some interesting things. There's a
yeah.
few others. Yes, we've thought about that. I think for Tech United, that's an interesting model for us to consider. It's difficult to, one of the challenges we have with Tech United is we serve the entire life cycle of business. If we were just serving early stage founders, I think we could be, and that was our entire focus. It would be easier to stand those things up. But because we serve mid-sized companies, larger companies, and have a whole, broader scope of stakeholders, we're still a relatively small group and we can't handle as much as I'd like to be able to do. But yes, I think there's a real opportunity to bring together those kinds of curated communities. They're much higher price points. But I think they could be really fantastic groups.
Yeah. Bill, advice for entrepreneurs. What 24, you're starting a company. What advice do you give to founders starting today?
There are so many tools that can help you build a business quickly and learn from the market, whether anyone cares. I think you should be passionate about your idea, but willing to let them go when you hear enough from the market that says, you know what, this isn't going to work. Because I've been the guy who's held on too long to businesses that didn't have traction, thinking, oh, the world's going to catch up. And there's just so much at our disposal now to create a landing page, to get in front of users, to find out if anybody cares, to just talk to people and find out much more quickly. And so I would say, share your ideas. If the idea is not the value, the execution is the value. And so if somebody takes the idea and goes through all that work to build it, maybe you deserve, I would say you deserve to lose it in a mean way, but maybe they had the drive that you didn't have to bring it to life.
It's incredibly hard to build a company. The idea is one piece of it. And you can't be romantic about it. You can't, you got to change your hypothesis is what you're.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so again, leveraging the tools, the one-pager tools, Facebook ads, lots of different tools out there to find out, does the market care? And setting clear milestones for yourself and really holding the line on those things, I think is really, really
awesome. Man. Let's summarize, consolidate your mission across all your work into a single mission. What would that look like at this point in your life?
For me personally,
yeah,
that's an interesting one. Have fun, do good work, build great stuff. At the end of the day, I think the fun's a really important one. I like the idea of building and having an iron bar of excellence. I think those are the important things. And I think in the process, you surround yourself with great people. You'll learn a lot. I mean, I'm leaving also the personal things about just your health and wellness of your family and those who you love around you, but which I would probably figure out a way to work into that. But the money's not the thing. It's the process. It's the people. Money's often it's the measurement of the success of the win. But that's to me not the goal. It's just the outcome.
What's your goal? What do you want? Looking back on the next, if you're 70 years old, looking back, or 100 years old, looking back.
If I make it to 100, I hope that I have the ability to have the freedom of my time. I hope I have my health, and my loved ones are healthy and successful, and however they measure it. It doesn't have to be financial, but that they are comfortable in their own skin, and if it's my kids, that they have a strong foundation that they feel like they got partially from their, they're growing up in our house. But I've often talked about I'm not going to look back and be like, oh, 5, that was that. I'm 100 and that was the thing.
You might you'll be happy about that, no?
There'll be moments, and there'll be a moment. I mean, I remember very, very clearly when there was a long line and down the pier because we were having some trouble actually checking people in, but you could see thousands of people lined up for this thing that I had been killing myself. There was a huge group of volunteers helping make this happen.
It's amazing.
I'll never forget that moment.
Arianna Huffington was that one. Sorry to cut you off. There was
Yeah.
Arianna Huffington, big names. I mean, this guy, New Jersey Tech Meetup to Arianna Huffington, Gary Vaynerchuk. And that's amazing, man. That's over a year, and all volunteers. I think everyone was unpaid. I think
Everybody
that
was unpaid.
It's amazing. Sorry to cut
It
you
was
off.
a really special thing, a special community. That is something I'll remember for sure. And there'll be other moments like that, launching Deliver You and getting our first orders. That moment at Propelify, there's a few others where I'm just those are special moments. But the bigger picture stuff,
Yep.
I hope I have freedom, and I don't mean political freedom. I hope I have that too. but the freedom to just do whatever I want with my time, which for the most part I do, but that changes, and yeah, I think you get more and more precious with your time as you get older, and that the people around me are healthy and happy. It's the
Awesome,
best.
brother. That's awesome. Cool, man. I think I won't hold you too much more, but I guess is there anything else that's sort of on your mind that you're thinking about for NJ Tech Meet, for Propelify, for Tech United, what you're doing today? What should we stay tuned for? Looking forward.
I would just say, people, I think it's important to like leave your house is the easy way to put it. Sort of even what you're doing here,
Thanks, sir.
networking with, just getting to know other people, going to events, like you'll find inspiration, you'll find friends, or talking to customers, you'll learn if your business has potential or opportunity. I think that's the thing that people sometimes, especially with the pandemic, forget about. Yes, we can all do quite a bit from home, and these sorts of things virtually are almost as good. But
Not quite the
get out of
same,
the
but yeah,
house.
yeah.
What's that?
They're almost as good.
But to talk to any of the stakeholders on your business, I think you'll find, and even if it's not obvious, if you go to Propelify, it's also a wide group of people. I guarantee you go to a few events like that, you find a few who are relevant for whatever it is you're working on, who want to help you.
Hmm.
And I think that mission and mentality of look to help people out before you necessarily get something out of it is the way to approach these things, and that drives the whole system.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, what goes around comes around. It's happened with us directly, where you've helped us out with some of the resources from Propelify. There's so many relationships in my life. Some of them go back 10 years. I'm like, oh yeah, look at this thing. That happened to be a benefit now for me professionally. That you can't predict those things or outline those things. You just try to help people out, and eventually it comes around every day.
Yeah, 100%. What are you personally looking to develop, like personal development for Aaron Price or personal goals?
I'd like to recruit on.
Time management is difficult for entrepreneurs. Never,
I,
there's no
I was going to say
perfect.
that's one of them.
That
I don't think I'm great at recruiting, and we need to make a bunch of hires, and so I get excited about people a little too easily. So I think I need to improve on my hiring diligence, and I'd like to put my idea muscle back to the gym, where I've gotten comfortable in this seat, and it is comfortable. One of the things that's been very, very exciting about Better Future Labs is it allows me to flex that muscle of, hey, what if we did X, Y, Z much more
Mhm.
frequently?
Yeah.
It means to potentially launch it. So for me, I think launching a business that has scale. The New Jersey Tech Meetup and Propelify and now Tech United New Jersey have been extremely gratifying. They don't have scale, and so for me, the part of the mission is leaning into something relevant to these things that has real scale, opportunity to scale.
Looking, you're in that operator seat, getting back into idea world and spending time on building and ideating. It sounds awesome, bro.
Yeah, I excited to be. I mean, it's not my full time role, but I'm involved, and it's been great to be. It's been really exhilarating to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, bro. I really appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you. And yeah, man, keep in
Thanks for the
touch.
friendship and the involvement and being part of the community and doing these sorts of things. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you in person real soon.